Hey YouTube, Ben here. Last week I talked about upgrading a SunSun 704B using new sponge material and replacing some of the fragments I had used originally, since I had sort of pieced it together. And so I also talked about introducing a new media, the CNZ bio balls that are filled with black sponge material. And so let's just go ahead and get to it. Let's do this, all right? So thanks for joining me, and I hope you get something out of it. So here's everything I'm going to be needing. I have 4 of these CNZ bags, 4 of the bags of the bio balls that contain sponges within each bio ball. I have the pond filters, egg crate pond filters in fine, medium, and coarse that I picked up on eBay. Be sure you buy pond filters that are not treated with any chemicals. Don't try and save money and buy packing filters, because they may contain chemicals that will harm your fish. So I have 4 bags of these, and I have one of the trays here upside down because I'm going to be using it as a template to cut these new filters, and of course to cut the pinky floss that I use in my in here. I am also, as you can see, I've gotten rid of the blue balls. If you have a tank and you're near Arcadia that could use some blue balls, like let's say you have a sump, hit me up. You can have these, and I'm keeping some of this chemical filtration and some of the old black bio balls. I'm keeping them in tank water because I'm going to use them to help seed and jumpstart the new media that I'm putting in, the sponges and the CNZ bags. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Let's set up this canister so it's good to go. I have everything I need, and all you'll need really is a scissor, your tray as a template, the materials of course, and of course a strong cup of coffee. I'm going to go ahead and speed through this because you really don't need to be watching me cut through these. Just know that I'm using the tray as a template to give me the best possible size, and I'm also going to be cutting some of the pinky floss as well, since I'll be putting a layer of that on a couple of the trays. So let's just get through this part of it. You can see it's a pretty easy process. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can be close and still be okay. I saved these spare pieces like this, because I can use these pieces in like a Whisper HOB in a grow out tank or a quarantine tank. I can use these pieces in other filters. So now what I do is I cut. Just be sure that when you cut the hole in these to fit into the canister, be sure that you cut the hole so that you have the egg crate facing down. So don't cut the hole in a way so that the only way it fits is so that the egg crate is up, or just make sure it's lined up perfectly. And then if you have to cram it in a little bit because it's not perfect, that's okay. Just gives you a little extra pressure on the outside. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is not a shot. We're not preparing a moonshot here. Okay. Well, the pinky's doing its job, you can see. And the reason I'm even replacing these sponges is because it was just a hodgepodge that I put together from things I had left over. And you can see it's just pieces of sponges. So junk was probably sneaking in between. And so that's the only reason I'm changing these sponges. See, they're doing their job. See all that surface area there covered in detritus? This is why egg crate sponges are superior. That's many, many more times than I would have in surface area if I was using a flat sponge. So all these pieces now I can just be replaced by one solid piece of sponge. That's going to give me a much better filtration. That's why I'm replacing with these new cut pond sponges. All right. I just cut a little hole in it, and then that little hole I stretch out as I fit it over. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. It can actually be just a small opening like this, and then you just stretch it out and stretch it over this opening here, which is where your UV light is going to be fitting through. Okay, so that hole doesn't have to be cut super precise. You have a lot of stretch, a lot of it's very flexible, so you can just stretch it to fit. Okay. So this one is ready to go. The coarse, medium, and fine have been tucked in all around, and this tray is ready. On the next tray above, I'm going to be putting a layer of pinky floss at the bottom of it, and then I'm going to put some of these bio balls to seed, to work as seed for the new CNZ bags, which I'm going to be putting 2 of these in the 2 trays above. Then I'll probably put another layer of pinky floss, and then the chemical filtration. I'll show you the final setup before I drop it into the canister. As you can see, the 2 of those bags fill up the trays. I'm using the old bio balls to seed them, add a little some biological bacteria in there. So I'm seeding them with the old bio balls, mixing them in. Be sure everything is tucked down nice and tight. Nothing is higher than the top rim of the basket. And so everything fits nice and snug together, or you might get some noise, leaking, and other things. The top tray, I've got some bio in there too, which I normally wouldn't use, but that's had some extra, so I figured I'd use it. Here they are dropped into the tray. The bottom tray, of course, the sponges from coarse, medium, and fine, working their way up as the water moves through the canister, coming up from the bottom, being pulled up by the motor. Then it gets into the biological media. There is a pinky floss at the bottom of each of those bio ball trays. And as we work our way up to the top, and then finally on the very top, we have the chemical with a few of the bio balls that were left. I filled the canister up with tank water, and that way the black balls that I'm using to seed the new media are not going to get completely killed off with chlorinated tap water. So this canister is now full with water that I siphoned from the tank, which I normally do when I service canisters, as you can see in some of my canister maintenance videos. Be sure when you put the top back on, you're real careful with that UV light, and push down, and everything should fit snugly. Nothing should be off. It should actually sort of suction back into place, and then when you put these flaps on, it'll secure it so you'll be leak free. I didn't look at or do any maintenance on the O-ring. This is a relatively new SunSun, but you may want to get a hold of something, maybe like some Fluval. They have Fluval oil that you can use on things like O-rings to extend the life of the O-ring. But this canister, after I lift the flaps and secure it and reattach the tubing, is going to be good to go and completely set up in a way that's much better than it was set up before with the hodgepodge of things I'd put together originally. I plug in the filter, and then I drop this valve, making sure that the tubing is secure. Drop this valve, water should start flowing. I see it coming out of the output in the aquarium. I also see some air coming out, but you can see now it just settled in, nice and quiet. That's because I filled it, and also when I turned it off, I closed the valve. In other words, I lifted this valve, then I unplugged it. So I left the tubes full of water, so it didn't end up putting a bunch of air into the canister. Now, even though it's nice and quiet right now, not leaking from anywhere, I'm going to do a little burping. I just tilt it side to side. You can hear the air coming out of it, and I can see it coming out of the output. So I'll do this a few times, back and forth, just rock it a few times. I never even touched this blue button, which some people find annoying when they have to use that button. I never even touched that. So, using the method that I use. And I'm going to let it run for a little while and be sure all the air is out of it before I touch the UV. That UV is turned off for a half an hour to an hour before service and is not turned back on until I am sure all the air is out of it and it is running perfectly. And right now, based on the fact that it's running silent, putting out a lot of pressure out of the output, I believe this filter is good to go. So why go to all the trouble? Well, because I want to have these guys healthy. I want to have them continuing to grow and develop and provide the best possible environment for them, and at the same time doing things in a way that is both sensible and economical, because not all of us have an unlimited budget but want to participate in the hobby. And for those of you that fit that category, I think that CNZ media balls might work for you. Ultimately, we'll see how that tests out. Chromis is looking wonderful. Fusco continues to color up nicely. Eureka red. Eureka temporarily not being harassed by the otter point. Very unusual. Beautiful red empresses in here. So that's the upgrade for the 704B, and I'll keep you folks posted on how that media is doing, how my tank is testing out. And now keep in mind, I would have never done a complete makeover on a canister filter like that without having some seeded media that I could drop into it, like I did with those bio balls. And also because I have the Fluval FX 6 running, which is just a beast of a canister with a lot of good bacteria in it, and of course the substrate, the rocks, the background, the glass, everything has good bacteria on it. So I don't think that doing something like that in a situation like this is going to shock the tank. I will be doing, of course, measurements to make sure that that things are the way they should be. Just as a precaution, I'll throw a little prime in there, maybe a little safe, just to make sure that nothing spikes, okay? So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you're appreciated, and I hope you got something out of this. And do sub and rate and comment and share and all that good stuff. And come on over to ben.o.cichlid on Instagram. I'm always posting stuff there. And come join us on Facebook. We have a pretty cool group. It's drama-free and troll-free. It is a troll-free zone over at ben.o.cichlid on Facebook. Okay? All right. Hope to see you there. Bye-bye. And a big shout out to Jay Wilson for his recent raffle, in which I won a Imperial Tropicals gift certificate. Thank you, Jay Wilson, for that. Be sure to check out his Facebook group, Jay Wilson, and actually it's I believe Jason Wilson. It used to be Jay Northfin USA. Be sure to go to Jay Northfin USA for Northfin food and other products that he sells there, including Seachem. And also be sure to visit hashtag HapNation, Evan Alexander's group on YouTube, and take a look at all the wonderful content that both of these gentlemen are constantly posting on the internet, and give those folks some support. They do a lot for the hobby. All right, that's it for now. Thank you so much, folks, again. As always, you are greatly appreciated.